Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
I've spoken often about shadow and your past, history, your history, why you feel the way you feel. And there's so much that goes into an understanding, a comprehension of how we got to where we are. And also that we aren't necessarily or even close to the same as anybody else. In other words, your mindset and your creation and how you do what you do is based on your history of how you've done what you've done. And that sounds pretty straightforward. But every single person on this planet has a different set of rules that they're operating under. They have a different set of experiences, history. Everything's different per person. And we think it's supposed to be the same. We think that we're all kind of even keel. We're all just people doing people things. But the way we think, act, do, walk, talk, be is entirely different per individual. I'm saying this because I've been asked a few times about relationships, shadow work, history. I've posted a few things that I really like. I think the Instagram is great for that. And I think that, more and more people are sort of engaging the idea of it now and speaking into it and creating their own new future based on the questions that have come up with regards to their past, with regards to the world around us. And this is the fascinating thing for me, because we live in a world where we can literally see everything all around us at all times. And we can create what we want with that. And often we create like a negative kind of connotation, a negative undertone. And that's a funny thing because it's society that's made it that way. This creeping self-doubt bullshit that, like, where does that come from? It comes from everything. It comes from our upbringing. It comes from the fact that we were always told to calm down, settle down, sit down. It comes from not believing that we're good enough. This is men, women, child. This is everything. This is women looking at men going, they've got it made, and men looking at women going, they run the world. This is division that nobody talks about. This is internal stuff that everyone believes to be true, and they also believe that everybody else believes is true. And that shit's not. It's just not true. If you sat down and actually were able to be open and honest with anybody about anything and ask any questions, it is amazing the answers that you would get that wouldn't stick with what you believe them to be, if the person you're asking has the ability to be open and honest. But truth be told, every single one of us is afraid of an answer if it comes to an emotional connection or an idea of a person, and we're afraid to ask. We're afraid of what they might say. We're afraid of a potential rejection. We're afraid of all these things. And it's just simpler to keep it status quo and to keep communication breakdown, which is typically what ends so many good relationships and friendships. We've got two people in any given two-person scenario that are peacocking. Whether it's a romantic relationship, you're peacocking. The two of you are showing the best of yourselves to each other until you can't peacock anymore. And then people get sick of each other because they were never true with each other. But it's not something you take personally, because you yourself were weak and didn't want them to see you a certain way. And they themselves were weak and didn't want you to see them a certain way. It's an ongoing battle, and you got to trace it back. Where does it start? Where does it begin? Why do I think this way? Why can't I just simply be who I want to be? Why can't I just simply say the things I want to say? Obviously, when you operate with full integrity, you don't have to worry about like being an overt dick. If being an overt dick is part of your personality, then leave it in your personality, right? But don't go out of your way to hurt people. That's just stupid. If you're living in a spot where you're questioning your own, I don't want to know, like sex appeal or your own, personal brand of who you think you might be versus who they might be versus why they may or may not like you, or people may or may not like you, or you don't have the balls to go out and ask your gym crush out or whatever it is. All of these things parlay into one thing. All of your relationships, whether they're romantic or friendships or work related, they all harken back to your childhood. And it's funny when you really do a deep dive, how completely oblivious you are. You're like, you can dive deep. You can dive as deep as you possibly can and understand that you're only scratching the surface. Because for the first little while, you're looking at yourself and you're looking at the scenario and situation through the eyes of the broken. And anything that you could possibly deduce from that scenario is based in fallacy as well, based in brokenness and fallacy. How you amass that, how you get past that, how you garnish the new information that you need to deduce properly is literally sifting through your own bullshit, which is legitimately called shadow work. So you sit with yourself, excuse me, and you question who and how and why you became who you became. You question your relationships. You question your parents. Of course, you have to question your parents. I'm going to read you a meme that we worked off before. It says, dating without a healthy degree of shadow work very often ends up being the reenactment of parent-child dynamics. So we think it starts with the parent and the child, but it's you. It's how you interact with and it's how you believe in yourself. And where did your belief come from? Well, it does come from your parents. It comes from the class of people around you. Who's going to say what you can and can't do, what you can be encouraged to do. The self-doubt, the self-loathing, that comes from a combination of insecurity, misunderstanding of environment, the lies that we were told as kids, the lies that we were told as adults, the fact that we don't necessarily feel that we fit inside society and then we take it personally, we think it's personal, we think it's us that's broken. And the individual does not thrive in society. Society is designed to destroy the individual and make the individual part of society. Society is your enemy. And I mean, if we need enemies, we don't really need enemies. And I don't mean enemy as in like I'm going to war. I mean, enemy is in the things that take place in this relationship that I have with society are sharpening me to be a better version of myself. Without conflict, you can't become better. And that's a harsh truth that a lot of people aren't willing to look at. They just look at the conflict and they say to themselves, well, fuck, I'm stuck here. It's always an uphill battle. I'm always fighting everything negative, blah, blah, blah. Right. But if you look at this and go, look at the shit that we've overcome as individuals, look at who you've become, look at what you've challenged yourself with and what you've pushed forward through and what you've created. You can base your self-worth heavily on how you're achieving the things that you want to achieve, as opposed to the things that society tells us to achieve, i.e. Pimp My Ride and MTV Cribs, all of these things where we're supposed to have all this third dimensional money and we're supposed to chase this and chase that and we're supposed to follow politics and give a shit about all that sort of stuff. These are just other people doing other things. The more we focus on other people doing other things, you got it, the less we focus on ourselves doing the things that we need to do. And that's huge. So when you look back on your parents, when you look back on your relationships, when you look back on all of that stuff, if you're having a string of bad relationships, it's primarily, it's your fault. It's 100% your fault. From how you're acting to how you decide who you're choosing to date. And again, until we do a healthy amount of shadow work, every single person that we look for, every single relationship that we try to acquire is often one that mimics the relationship that we had with our parents. So for me, if I were to try to date, I would have to date somebody who was completely aloof and didn't seem to care. And ironically, I shouldn't say ironically, but if I look back at my dating history, those are the women I did date. So as I sit here and tell you about these things, I'm a victim of them too. I'm a victim of my upbringing. I'm a victim. It's 2023. I'm a victim. No, I'm hyper aware of what is happening. I'm hyper aware of who I can become by how I can observe what I want to observe. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. And see, I'm not going to sit here and point the finger at my mother and my father because there's no point. They were what they were based on how they were raised. So they were just flawed individuals who happened to connect, create another individual, myself, and this journey here is for me. So my whole journey, my whole perspective of this is I got here and things were a bit messed up. These people aren't doing things the way I want to do them, so I'm going to do them my way. I'm going to do them the way I think that they should be done because I'm going to operate my life with the same amount of integrity that I think I should. When you get past the desire to impress everybody and to be something for somebody and be everything for everybody else, you understand that the whole time you've been doing that, you have been foregoing who you should be taking care of, and that's you. Back to society. Society says that you got to take care of everybody first, everybody before yourself. Right? But that's also bastardized. You can't do that. You can't pour from an empty cup. And that's hugely important. When you decide to focus on you and when you decide to really give yourself a fighting chance, it really is you first. You have to put yourself first. And that doesn't mean be a dick. Like the fact that I have to reiterate that is hilarious because in society, whenever somebody says, oh, put yourself first, there's always some fucking asshole out there chirping. Oh yeah, sure. Everybody's so selfish. Put myself first. Right? I'm not here to listen to what that chirper has to say. I'm not here to watch selfish people destroy the world. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to create the version of me that I need to be. I'm not here to associate with the constant takers, right? Everyone's like, oh, if you're too nice, everybody finishes and takes everything from you. Fuck them, right? These people can go. Anyone that takes advantage of your kindness can go. It's your lack of shadow work that says, I need to keep these people around me. You don't need to keep anybody around you. You need to find the people who align with who you are, and they're out there. There's everybody for every different walk of life. Remember, it's our own insecurities that have us drawn to chaos. It's our own weakness that have us see past beauty and worship destruction. And when we decide that we want more for us and that we love ourselves, when we really truly start putting that kind of effort in and we start demonstrating that to the ethos, the whole game changes. Your whole existence gets the opportunity to step into purpose, true purpose for yourself. You no longer accept things that aren't for you. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Because before we do the shadow work, before we understand and comprehend the things that we need to do for us, we're open to everything. We're open to I don't mean open to everything as like everything's a possibility, which it is. What I mean is we're susceptible to the external energy and we put it before our internal beliefs, self-desire. And that shit's what's got us all broken. So many people are over here fighting for the rights of other people who are fighting for the rights of themselves. There's a saying that says, if everybody on the beach picked up one piece of garbage, the beach would be clean in a second. Or if you picked up after yourself, there would never be a mess in the first place. Society says the mess is here. The mess has been here for generations, and it's up to you to fix it and to pay the price of the generations before you's mess. Incorrect. Government's a scam. Finance is a scam. Everything that we live under, the entirety of everything that we live under is a scam. And there's so much proof to all of that all the way through. And there are so many people who can't accept that. And that's okay. I love those people just as much as I love the people that can see through it. right? It's the anger and the aggression. You see these people that don't know too much are always talking like this, and they're so angry all the time, and they can't believe that you're saying the things that you're saying. Like, do you really think that by taking that approach and taking that tone, you're doing anything? Like, no, you just look like an asshole, right? And that person's fine. If that person, see, here's the thing. It's the nice people. It's the people that are trying to figure things out. It's the insecure people. It's the kindness in people that create doubt, fear, meekness, small energy. And it's all the assholes out there that know fuck all, that are literally the loudest. These are the loudest people saying the dumbest things. And we're like, that's society. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to back down. And like, you look at this stuff and you look at all these people and you look at all of the aggressors out there, and you think to yourself, I can't do that. I can't be me. You know, it's up to them. It's always up to somebody else to do that. So I say this again, it's okay to be aggressive. It's okay to be out there. It's okay to be loud. It's okay to literally do anything that you've ever wanted to do, as long as you operate with integrity. The minute you're no longer operating in integrity, you're a piece of shit. And you can be aggressively out there as long as you're operating with integrity. Proper integrity, right? So if you've got a pure heart and you are loud, you're going to do it. If you're a dickhead and you're loud, it's probably not too much integrity stuff. And there's a lot of cowardice that goes into the loudest person. If you look at the loudest person in the room, often they're the scariest. The individual that's not, observing, what are they saying? And this comes back to you. This comes back to you and your observations of everything. If you've got the ability to dive into why you operate the way you operate, you can remove all of the negative external factors that would have you believing a different truth about yourself. And this brings us back to war with society. You, the individual, are at war with the conglomerate society. And somebody's pulling the societal strings. There is an entity creating a world that seems to be full of chaos. But I personally believe at the end of the day, that chaos is designed to help us sharpen our teeth. That chaos is the challenges that we've chosen to face here. And when you decide that you want more for yourself, when you decide that you want to find a relationship that's good for you, how beautiful would it be if you had an amazing partner looking at you and living their life to their fullest and smiling and being proud to be with you and looking at you with love in their eyes. I mean, we can't have that until we believe that we're worthy of it. And that's one of the biggest things that's one of the biggest scams that they've ever pulled on us, is to make us not love ourselves. And if you don't love you, it's hard to convince somebody else to love you, because all the other person can do is love the potential that they see in you, the version that they've created of you inside their head based on their experiences, based on the energy that you emit. But that might not be you. And we're too afraid to talk about who we are. And this is where, again, communication breakdown, relationships end. Give yourself grace in your next relationship, in any relationship. Whether it's buying a hot dog from a man, give yourself grace. Pay a compliment. Do something nice. Do something kind. See how the world changes when you decide that, first off, everything that you understand about who you are is based primarily off who your parents told you you were. You don't have to be that person anymore. You don't have to trust your parents' word, because your parents are just flawed people. And if you don't address your childhood again, you'll find it replaying in those you date. You'll find it you'll find it playing out constantly in the relationships you have. You're looking for something that reminds you of the way you felt when you were supposed to feel most loved and most protected. And that's crazy when it comes to somebody who lived in a very violent household, because that to them becomes love. And somebody who lived in a very violent household won't understand love as love. They won't understand kindness and confidence towards you. Prime example for me, whenever somebody's kind to me, and this is a brutal truth, but whenever somebody's kind to me, I always think, what do you want? Whenever somebody tears up in front of me, I always think, this is a manipulation. Where are we going with this? These are my shadows. These are things that I have to work through and understand and comprehend, that not a lot of people are like this. But for me, I come from a family that was, like, the term unconditional love doesn't exist. Every single, like, I love you to pieces, but could you do this? Right? It was conditional love all the way through. And then it was a bunch of other stuff. And then it was trying to understand that in my adult life, and then trying to reconvene and reconnect with my mother in my adult life, and understanding sort of certain things, but then understanding that she's just an individual, and understanding that, you can be friends with this person. You don't need to, there doesn't need to be a grudge. There doesn't need to be anything. It just needs to be you understanding yourself better. It needs to be you deciding to do the work that you need to do for you to become the version of you that you want to be. Understanding that where we came from is already done. And it's up to us to utilize what we've got, because it's all we've got, to become what we know we need to become, because that's the whole purpose of this game that we're playing, this game of humanity. So to surmise, it's the shadow work. It's the idea of you creating you through your trials and tribulations. And even though you may not be where you want to be, you're exactly where you need to be as far as your life pattern goes. And from this day forward, it's up to you to become. It's entirely up to you. And everything's beautiful. You can make that a reality. What you see is what you create. And what you create is what you see. It's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun. This episode has been kind of a personal one, a little bit more laid back, but I wanted to get this out. I wanted to talk about this one. So thank you for letting me bend your ear. And in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the end.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long-distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.